Hello and welcome back to Picks and Portraits. Today we are going to be doing something a little different. With Valentine's Day right around the corner, love is in the air, and so I wanted to revisit the romantic beginnings of one of my favorite shows, The Simpsons, and one of my favorite episodes, Season 19's That 90s Show. Now I know this is an unpopular opinion, for reasons we will get into, but I think it is a brilliant example of a property providing meta-commentary in a way very few can. For those unfamiliar, this episode appears on many worst of listicles, but I don't think that's necessarily fair or right even. In this video we're going to see why it's so hated, but first I wanted to take a look back at the beloved history it supposedly destroys. One of the first videos I made for this channel was Bartmania, looking at the Simpsons phenomenon through promotional material. I will link it, but heads up, the audio is rough. To summarize though, the series premiere coincided with the dawn of the 1990s, and its influence over the decade cannot be understated. The show's breakout star, Bart Simpson, became the poster child for the 90s. He was rebellious, loud, and in your face, and through references and guest stars, the show's first 10 seasons are the perfect time capsule for that period. Now, given that these Simpsons take place in the 90s, it makes sense that the family roots were in the 70s and 80s. There are two episodes that really inform the family's lore: The Way We Was and I Married Marge from season 2 and 3 respectively. There are obviously other flashback episodes, but these two cover Homer and Marge's origin story quite nicely. The Way We Was finds them as seniors at Springfield High School in 1974. Homer, a slacker, red stoner, is introduced to Marge in detention after he is caught smoking and she publicly burns a bra. He's immediately stricken when she walks in. We hear the Carpenters and he falls in love. Homer pursues Marge, eventually deceiving her into tutoring him in French, even though he is not enrolled in that class. They hit it off. He asks her to prom, to which she accepts, but discovers his lie and storms out, never wanting to see him again. Enter top student Artie Ziff, played by John Lovitz, probably my second favorite guest star, after Phil Hartman of course. Artie is obsessed with Marge, and seeing her vulnerable, asks her instead to be his prom date. She accepts, again, and the couple is crowned prom king and queen, while Homer goes it alone. However, Marge's night is soured when Artie later attempts to touch her against her will. It's then Marge realizes it's Homer she wants, and the two are reunited, seemingly forever. I Married Marge picks up 6 years later, in 1980, with the couple still happily dating. Just so you know, it's 1980. After a screening of The Empire Strikes Back, Homer and Marge make love inside a windmill at the Mini Putt course where he works. This turns out to be Bart's conception. After all, this is a flashback brought on by a pregnancy scare. With money tight and a child on the way, Homer sets out to find a better job. He applies at the power plant, but loses out to Smithers' old frat buddies. Defeated, he then leaves Marge, vowing not to return until he's made something of himself. He eventually finds work at a fast food restaurant, where he is spotted by Marge's sisters, Patty and Selma. Despite despising Homer, Selma informs Marge where he is. When they reunite, Homer explains the shame of not being able to provide the finer things in life, but Marge tells him that anything he can give is enough because she loves him. With the power of love, he puts his in-laws in their place and demands Mr. Burns give him a job at the plant, which he does. Bart is then born, and in the present, Homer says parenthood is the best gift a person can receive, before celebrating, learning Marge is in fact not pregnant. And that is, more or less, the Simpsons canon. So jump ahead 16 years and many revisions to this history, and Homer and Marge are now living in a condo, he an aspiring R&B singer, and her recently accepted to Springfield University. To cover the costs, Homer starts working at Abe Simpson's laser tag, for some reason, while Marge is introduced to her teacher, Stefan August, a woke professor that feels right at home in 2020. He teaches Marge the Founding Fathers were all straight, white men, the epitome of evil, and that America was founded on lies. Stefan attempts to manipulate Marge into a relationship with him by turning her on Homer, to his obvious objection, and they split up. Feeling dejected, Homer turns to grunge music, converting his R&B group to Sadgasm, a Nirvana analog, and assumes the appearance of Kurt Cobain. Sadgasm become a sensation. At the same time, Marge is realizing Stefan's manipulation and breaks away from him, only to see Homer wrote a song about her on MTV. This is the seminal Margarine, a takeoff of Bush's Glycerin, but the video is interrupted by Kurt Loder, who reports Sadgasm has broken up. In a direct parody of him breaking the news of Kurt Cobain's death, he also reports Homer is battling a drug addiction. Marge rushes to find him with a needle in his arm, which is a very upsetting image, but this is later revealed to be his insulin. He drank too many frappuccinos. The story ends with them driving to a mini-putt course to apparently conceive Bart. Now, for those unfamiliar with this episode, I'm sure that is a lot to digest. Many treat it like a sacrilege, though I'm sure those that would have such a strong reaction probably long stopped watching by the 19th season. Personally, I love it, and here's why. In it, the Simpsons step outside themselves and reflect on a culture and time it influenced so much. It was a pop culture phenomenon, endlessly quoted throughout the 90s, and it outlived not only its expectation and other shows, but its own canon. They needed to reboot it. People hate on this episode, and yet Homer's barbershop quartet gets a pass, despite being similar, but somehow less believable, being barbershop. Granted, I was not there. Could have been huge. This was also not the first time The Simpsons broke its own universe. There was Season 9's infamous The Principal and the Pauper, another much maligned episode that is perfectly fine and enjoyable in hindsight. There was also another one of my favorites, Behind the Laughter, which is similar in the way that it comments on The Simpsons and their legacy. Personally, I think it should have been the finale, but the show obviously continued. However, to treat this as the same show is ridiculous. The Simpsons has been rebooted so many times, but because it's been continuously airing for 31 years, it does not get the same benefit that a show has been cancelled and comes back gets. Now, I am a reasonable person. I admit the original was far superior, the animation is gorgeous, and it packs way more heart, but as a child of the 90s, I love this reboot. Sure, the writing isn't as strong, and a lot of the personality was lost in the move to digital animation, but this is the truest they could have stayed while still updating it. It is consistent with the show's canon while expressing it in a different way. That is not to say it is without fault. I think they try to squeeze way too many references in, and I would have preferred if they said it in a specific year, rather than just a pastiche of the 90s, such as 1994, given the Cobain allusions. I also would have loved to have seen a couple references to themselves. The Simpsons is a victim of its own longevity, and they were kind of screwed either way. They could continue the original timeline, which chronologically didn't make any sense in the 2010s, or reboot it and alienate an audience that again probably stopped watching a decade earlier. These characters have been around for so long and are so ingrained into pop culture that I believe they transcend the need for continuity. I understand who they are and can suspend my disbelief long enough to see them in situations that contradict what they did 30 years ago. Because of this, I think that 90s show is among some of the later season episodes that not only are worth watching, but are among the series' best. Am I off base? Out of touch? Probably. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you're new here, please subscribe, and for those that may have missed it, we have a new sleep core available for free over on Patreon, but please consider supporting us. We're going to be looking at more Simpsons Obscura, as well as some of my other favorite episodes on a process video over there, plus you get access to dozens of other videos for just $5 a month, so yeah, consider becoming a patron. As always, thank you so much for your interest in this channel, and thank you so much for watching.